Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Soto, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Ipitimisawak Métis nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Can I get a motion that the agenda for the July 16th, 2024 Emergency Management Advisory Committee meeting be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
I'll make that motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the June 29th, 2023 Emergency Management Advisory Committee meeting be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. And we will go down to administrative updates. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the Emergency Management Agency update as information? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I so move.
Thank you. And Mr. Clayton Kitlitz will be presenting on this evening as our Director of Emergency Management. Is that the correct title?
Mike. Once again, thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. So supplementary to the report that we submitted for this meeting, I have a brief presentation just to go over some of the highlights of the activities that have been going on with our emergency management agency over this year, I guess, and since last time we reported to the committee. I have the pleasure of having Chief Milton here to join me, as well as GM Wagstaff, to help with any questions that I may not be able to answer in some of the details if the committee has those. So without further ado, let's go over the brief presentation. So just to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been working on. We've developed a sandbag inventory to prepare for any flash flooding that we have. We have 400 bags on the go, ready to be deployed when needed. As committee is aware, the sprinkler protection unit is now on site and delivered, available to be deployed when needed. Our firefighters have taken wildland urban interface training. Incident command systems training for staff throughout the organization has went really well. The majority of staff are trained up to at least level 100 or 200. And then staff members that are on the Emergency Command Center org chart are working towards at least 300. Most of them have that. And those that don't are working on it. Recognizing that some staff are new. We did a bunch of training. If new staff would come on since then, we obviously have to catch them up. But the mandate is to make sure all staff have at least 200. So we're very well on our way to that. And some of our ECC staff members also have a specialized training in section chiefs or other areas. So doing quite well, upping our game in terms of our command systems training. Another program that isn't very visible but provides a very large benefit is our sanitary mainline maintenance program. After the floods that we had in 2023, the utilities department really dug in on building a program for this, and they've cambered, flushed, cleaned, removed debris from thousands of meters of sanitary line already. And they focused on the areas where we had the problems, and there was debris and blockages in those mains. So removing the debris from those mains actually increases the capacity of those pipes, which is a positive for continuing to manage our storm events in town. So that's been going well. And then obviously there was a bunch of fire smarting done in town this year in the trees that are, I guess, east of 48th Street along next to the schools. And I think even behind Tiffin they were done as well, if I'm not mistaken. Some other things, communications branch has done a great job this year of keeping our community informed about preparedness, updates on wildfire, and just all the happenings in town. So that's been really a positive, I think. Although I don't know for sure, but I think the general feeling is that our community is prepared, more prepared than we were in the past for emergencies. So those are all positives that we continue to do. Agency meetings, earlier on in the year, we met twice, I think twice for sure, might have been 3 times, with all the school boards, representatives from AHS, to just talk about preparedness and exchange contact information and preparedness plans. We've also met with Staff Sergeant Delisle to have a chat with him just about their preparedness and what they're ready for. So haven't had one for a while. I think the bylaw asks for quarterly meetings with our external agencies. Being it's summer, we'll probably wait till September now to try to re-engage that. But we've made those connections, and it's good to see that the school boards for sure and AHS is actually really focused and spent a lot of time on preparedness as well. So those are all positives for our community. The Municipal Emergency Management Plan update, that was one of the action items that came out of the after action reports that we shared with Council in February. We've found a consultant that's willing to do that for us. The review of it is that it's actually in really good shape. It's not that, doesn't need a lot of work, just some minor updates and some clarity. So we just got a quote for that, and we're working on the contract to have that work done. And then the Emergency Social Services Plan as well. We've been doing that in-house. We basically got about a first draft of that document done, and we'll be reviewing that as well. We may also pass that along to the consultant that's reviewing the MEP to also give us some oversight on as well. So there's some of the key things. In the report, I included sort of the tracking list that we've been keeping. And this was sort of after the action after reports. We documented some of the things we wanted to work on, and we've been tracking them through this list. So I won't go through every line item, but certainly I shared it with the committee so that if there was specific areas that you wanted to ask questions about, we will do our best to answer some of those questions. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to the committee to ask you questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, or I shouldn't say council, committee members, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Yes, through the Mayor, Mr. Kidlitz. On your sprinkler protection unit, how many structures can you protect with that unit you have right now?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to have to defer to Chief Milton on that one because I don't know.
Chief Milton, come on up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. For that structure protection trailer, we can, depending how the setup is done, can be anywhere from 15 to 40 homes.
Thank you. Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz. The blockages in the sewers, the wastewater, was it wastewater or stormwater you said were cleared?
The wastewater system, yeah.
Now, were those roots or sand or objects?
You know what? There was rocks, debris, roots, lots of grease buildup. We still have a problem with grease buildup in our mains in town here. So a combination of a number of different things, yeah.
No, further question? Now, with that, do we have a plan moving forward so that annually we'll be checking this? Like I know years ago we used to constantly do camera inspections and flushing and such.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is the intent for sure. So they're out doing this first sweep now, and I guess from that we're going to get a better idea of how many we can do, how much we can do a year, and if it's the whole town or a quarter of the town, and then we'll develop that program to make sure that we get to them, focusing on maybe some of those higher priority areas first. But we believe it's actually been quite beneficial to be doing this, so long overdue.
All right, thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? So you mentioned in your report the sandbags that have been pre-prepared. Is there an opportunity for the public is that for just town use, or is that available for the public if they deem they need some sandbags for their properties?
Good question, Mr. Chair. I guess we thought it would be more or less for our operations to be able to deploy where needed. I'm not sure if 400 is enough. Hard to say, I guess, depending on an event. But yeah, certainly if we didn't need them, I don't know why we wouldn't make them available to those who did. But I think they're primary for our use first, I think, is how we would deploy them.
And just another question for you, Mr. Kitlitz, and you may not be able to answer this. So how many, I know we have the sensors, a number of manholes. How many of those are deployed across the community? Are they just primarily in our areas of town which have a lot of issues, such as Tiffin and Edson Drive, or do we have them deployed in other areas of the community?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, sorry, I don't know the number, But they're primarily, as you mentioned, they're primarily in the areas where we know we've had issues in the past. And we did set up, if you recall, there's that infiltration issue in Glenwood. We're still monitoring. We set up a couple temporarily to monitor that situation over by the RCMP station there to collect data so we can try to troubleshoot where that is. But I don't know how many, but I'm pretty sure I'm confident they're not all over town.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz. I don't have a question, just a comment. When I look back a year ago at our last EMAC meeting and then 2 years ago at that one, there's been like a significant amount of progress, that has been done by staff. So it's certainly noted. I know we had the action plan, but just looking at how many staff have the ICS and the increasing levels of each within the levels of how many staff members have had that, and everything that you guys have done, this past year has been a significant increase in the preparedness level for our town. So just thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do you have any further questions? Councillor Bevan.
Through the mayor to, Mr. Milton. When you were down at the museum there, you guys were doing a display and showing the sprinkler protection you could buy and stuff like that. Can residents still buy them from someplace? And what type of pressure do you need if you're, say you're out in an acreage or whatever, do they need to operate on?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Bevan. They can be purchased. Last I seen was through Timberjack Home Hardware in town here. They can also be purchased online or bought directly through WASP. Those are WASP home sprinklers. It is highly recommended. The thing that we always tell people is that if you are going to have them, contact the fire hall to let us know that you have them so that we can put you on the list. And then if there was an evacuation, don't activate them and leave due to our water reservoirs. So that could limit us on firefighting water if required. We will activate them if need be. With that, the pressure for such as an acreage, I think if I remember right, they'll work as low as 15 PSI. It just depends on the reach that you'll get. The higher the PSI, the better. You'll get a better reach with the spray. So, correct.
Any other further questions? So just tied into your presentation, one of the things that we have done is the backflow prevention program. And I know we had a presentation here a couple months ago now, adding sump pumps. I don't believe our website has been updated with that information yet. So I just leave that with you as well. I keep forgetting to mention it, that the public probably isn't aware that that's available to them. And another way that can help mitigate some of the issues that we have with flooding in the community. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Okay, I don't know which one of you two can answer the question. Going on your list where it says to vendors list, is that a vendor in case of an emergency that we can reach out to them? Is that what that means, that vendors list? I just want clarification on that.
Yeah, and I'll let others supplement, but I think through you, Mr. Chair, it's vendors that can support us in an emergency. So it could be hotels, food vendors, industry that has equipment maybe. Anyone who can support during an emergency is what we want, is to have a list of those contacts that are, and some of them we may even enter into some sort of agreement with, so that they're there for us. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't know if that,
Yeah, that's what I was more or less looking at, because during our pre-event evacuation, too many people were wondering how they could help. Now seeing this list, that's how they can help. If you think you can help, go on the list instead of helping yourself. So I'm pleased to see that list.
The other option to that too is to have a contact list of our businesses so that during a re-entry, when we conduct our re-entry planning, we can start looking at getting those necessary people in ahead of time to expedite our re-entry planning. So things like grocery stores, so they can start prepping restaurants, so on and so forth. Yeah.
All right, if there's no further questions, do you have anything else you gentlemen would like to add?
I think so. No?
All right,
Okay.
thank you. All right, so if there are no further questions, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously, and that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for the update here. Obviously, this is a part of our advisory committee bylaw that we meet on a regular basis. So Appreciate the update and all the work, as Councillor Chachka mentioned, that has gone into emergency preparedness for our community and all the staff that have bought into our vision for our community. So thank you. With that, can I get a motion for adjournment? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I'll make the motion for adjournment.
All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously.